I'd like to sing to you, if I may, very briefly. If there was more time, I would teach you the song as well. And the song is simply, Alabare a mi Señor, I will praise my Lord. Alabare, alabare, alabare a mi Señor. And this was a song that a charismatic Roman Catholic community was singing probably 30 years ago or so. And they were working alongside an Anglican community. And they said, how can we get together? How can we get together to pray for the needs in the area where we are? So the Anglicans came along and said, well, we've got the Book of Common Prayer. We will read a prayer. And the Roman Catholics said, well, we sing worship songs. Eventually, the two groups came together. And the charity that was born a bit later than that took the name Alabare. And Alabare started with local church community just outside Salisbury, not knowing how to respond to a man of the road, someone who was homeless with addiction issues. And so they rang up people who had a small ecumenical Christian community and said, can you take this person in, please? And they said yes. And he stayed with them for a while, then moved on. And then immediately they had a call. There was a young mother-to-be whose husband had just been to court and was going to go to prison. With that, she was losing her accommodation. Could they take her in? And this community then realised that there was quite a lot of need in the Wiltshire area in Salisbury, and the charity Alabare was born, and it is there to support adults who are of working age who are vulnerable, particularly adults with learning disabilities, and then adults who are homeless or at risk of homelessness.
Thank you very much. And can you tell us a little, I mean, in a sense it's implied in what you've said, but can you tell us a bit more about the theology behind what you're doing?
The theology is not really thought out completely, but comes from the commitment to trying to encourage people to live life in all its fullness. So working with John 10, chapter 10, the people who started the charity are not theologians as such, so we're kind of working back from a starting point where it wasn't really talked about. It was Christian love in action. I think we're at a place now whereby spirituality, particularly in the lives of people who are homeless, is really important because they have a lot of time on their hands to think about the meaning of life. And so the theology is really quite broad as a Christian heritage identity that can be expressed in explicit ways and in implicit ways, but actually it's saying to people, whilst you're with the charity, whilst we're supporting you, we'll do practical things so that you can have a home again, hopefully, and move towards that. But actually, we want you to be able to engage with something that's important and brings meaning into life. And to do that, often finding your place within a community, being creative, reconnecting with the natural world, or indeed exploring faith and practice could be the way forward. But it's not explicitly that the aim is that that is Christian at all. It can be of faith or not of faith, and it can be any one of those. But of course, they all link in very much with the Hebrew and Christian scriptures as well.
And your role in this, can you perhaps just say a word about that?
Yes, I really have three main things. We have 90 homes and services throughout the southwest and in Wales. The aim is that every place will have access to voluntary Christian chaplaincy. My role is to find those chaplains, lay and ordained, and to support them. Then it's giving the opportunity for spirituality to be nurtured. So one project we're doing at the moment is called the Creative Spirit, and we're working with young people. And we're finding that if the young people, with the key worker or with the chaplain, engage in something that is creative, the conversations tend to flow. If you sit down next to each other in front of a computer screen, well, you might be able to fill a form out, but it's a very stultified conversation. And we've got a beautiful example of one young woman who started to talk about her grandmother who brought her up and started cooking with the chaplain. And this unlocked a grief inside her that had been frozen. And so the chaplains, and I encourage that through spirituality, and then it's making links with the churches, and we share a common mission, I think. There's a common ground in our work, and trying to open that out so that we can understand more what the church can offer, but also that we can offer something to the church through our understanding and through the people with whom we work.
And so what are the challenges? And we've already said that the theology is not fully explicit. What are the challenges associated with your role and for the organisation as a whole? For the
organisation, it's remaining financially viable. In terms of funding, lots of funding comes through councils who will say, want 5 beds in North Wiltshire, we want 6 beds in Devon, wherever it happens to be. We win the tender, but we also know when we're doing that the level of need of those who come to our services might be greater than what is in the original tender. And so there's always a funding gap that we need to try and bridge. And there's a real challenge there. And many other charities will face exactly that challenge. For me, it's around opening the conversation of faith and spirituality. We are an inclusive charity, or we try to be, because of our Christian identity, but actually trying to open the conversation about that, trying to work to common values and explore what they mean, is a huge problem. And many of the people using our services and many of our staff have no experience or do not wish to talk about faith and identity. And that also includes those who are of Christian faith.
Thank you. So the final question or ask was, can you throw something back to the group here about what they might be thinking about, what you want them to think about?
If you have any practice that would help me in my practice and the charity in its practice around faith, around nurturing spirituality, around making connection with people who are homeless or who have learning disabilities, I would love to hear more.
Thank you.